In this video, we're going to have a look at how to sketch a linear line onto our Cartesian plane using the gradient intercepts method. So to use the gradient intercepts method, the first step is to identify the gradient in the y-intercept. Now this can be done from the rule, where I determine c is equal to the value and m is equal to a value. Or if I need to, I can find the y-intercept by determining when x is equal to 0, what does y equal to? So once I've found the value of the gradient and the y-intercept, my next step is to sketch the graph. Now this is done by starting off by marking the y-intercept onto the Cartesian plane and then applying the gradient. So remember, the gradient is as x is increased by 1, y is increased or decreased by what the gradient is. So I can do that to mark a second point. Once I've marked that second dot, I can sketch the line through those two dots to form a straight line and then finish off by labeling that line with the rule from the question. So let's have a look at an example. So in this example, we want to sketch the rule y equals negative 4x minus 2 using the gradient intercepts method. Now the first step is to determine what is the gradient and what is the y-intercept. And I can do that using the rule in the question by applying my general rule for linear lines of y equals mx plus c. So applying that, I know that my m value is going to be negative 4 and my y value is going to be negative 2. Remembering to look at the signs in front of both the gradient and the y-intercept to know that both of those numbers are going to be negative. Now before I start graphing with a negative gradient, I know that my line should start at the top of the Cartesian plane and slope downwards. If I don't get that when I'm finished graphing, that means I've made a mistake and I need to go back and recomplete. So the second step, once I know the gradient and the y-intercept, is to go ahead and draw my graph. And I do this by starting off marking the y-intercept onto the y-axis. So I'll put a dot at negative 2. The next step is to go ahead and mark a second dot using the gradient. So I know my gradient is negative 4, which means every time that x increases by 1, my y value is going to decrease by 4. So then I can work out where to put my second dot. Now once I've got two dots, I can go ahead and graph, or I can put a third dot on for increased accuracy. So again, using my gradient, as x increases by 1, my y value is going to decrease by 4. And then I can put that third dot on and then join all three dots to make a straight line. So once I've drawn the straight line, I can go ahead and label it with the rule from the question. So y is equal to negative 4x minus 2. And that's an example of how I can draw a linear line on a Cartesian plane using the gradient intercept method.